Tonight in our Missing series, the disappearance of a young veteran from Florida. A lot of you have reached out to us about this case. Bryan Vladek Hasel vanished 6 months ago. His father says the last time he saw his 22-year-old son was when they were packing up for a trip out of state for his sister's birthday. Bryan decided not to go on that trip. Well, when his dad returned home, Bryan was gone, and his cell phone had been left behind. Correspondent Bryan Enton spent most of the past few days in Orlando digging into this story for us. Bryan, the family is obviously desperate for answers right now. What stood out to you as you started to follow the clues that had been left behind?
Well, a few things stood out, Marnie. First of all, Vladek is just a really nice guy, according to everyone we spoke to. He's the kind of person who would smile at strangers on the street, start up conversation with strangers. He would pick up homeless people and take them out to dinner or help them pay their bills. But he was also complicated, like so many of us. He suffered from depression, and he disappeared.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
All right.
I'm Bryan.
Steve.
Hi, nice to meet you.
When we got to Bryan Vladek Hasel's Orlando apartment, his dad and two sisters were waiting, desperate for any help.
Happy birthday, dear Vladek. Happy birthday to you.
They're desperate to find the missing 23-year-old Marine who vanished in November of last year.
What's life like for you right now, not knowing?
I wake up sometimes at night and think he's standing by the bed till I realize, I was just dreaming. I have trouble sleeping at night. I talk to God a lot.
Steve Hasel adopted Vladek from a Russian orphanage when he was just 5 years old. He has 7 siblings, and after high school, joined the Marines. He was honorably discharged, and his family says he's had his ups and downs and bouts of depression that trace back to his childhood in Moscow. Vladek's dad went out of town on November 5th. It's the last time the family saw Vladek.
I was really worried because I was thinking about his mental health, and I know my dad had mentioned some concerns that he had about his behavior and some of the stuff he was saying. He was very hyper focused on religion, talking about archangels and demons the night before my dad left.
Vladek would talk to anyone and was known to help homeless people with rides and money.
He had been really struggling with finding his purpose in life after leaving the Marines, and with reaching out to the homeless community, I feel like that really gave him a purpose.
This Orlando coffee shop was where Vladek spent most of his time. He was known for pacing there, and his family says a customer accused him of having a pocket knife on the table he was sitting at, which caused the manager to call the police. They told him he couldn't come back. That was right before he vanished in November.
My first thought was he had a mental breakdown because of what happened with the coffee shop and his level of depression to start with, and that maybe he went off into the woods like he one time thought of doing and just stayed there.
In a lot of our missing stories, police are willing to do interviews, but the Orange County Sheriff's Office said detectives would not be available to talk with us. They're calling Vladek's disappearance an open and active investigation and say they continue to follow up on tips. Vladek lived near the University of Central Florida, and there are flyers up all around his apartment complex. A social media group known as the Nerdbird Mafia pushed for these electronic billboards in Central Florida, hoping someone has information.
I'm a reporter. We're doing a story about Bryan Vladek. Are you the maintenance man who saw him?
In the apartment complex, the maintenance workers knew Vladek because he walked around the neighborhood at night and smiled at everyone. His family thinks he may have had a mental breakdown and could be in a massive wooded area behind the complex.
But there is a kind of an opening back in here that he would go back. You could get back in there a ways, but it's just overgrown with palmetto bushes and trees.
Not knowing what happened is pure agony.
But I need to know, and I keep telling God, just tell me, where is he? Is he all right? Is he here or is he with you? And that's very hard.
And And there have been some reported sightings of Vladek. Someone said they may have seen him at a homeless camp. There was also a possible sighting at a 7-Eleven, but at this point, none of that has panned out. Marnie?
It is just so heartbreaking, Bryan, to hear that dad and see his tears and know that the fear of the unknown keeps you up at night. It's something that you appreciate when you hear him put it into words. Bryan, thank you. And if you have seen Bryan Vladek Hasel or you have any information about his disappearance, call the Orange County Sheriff's Office at the number on your screen. As Bryan said, it is an open and active case, and they are looking for him. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.